Next, we have Nicole that's going to talk about the administrative process in alternative meal models. So Nicole, would you come online?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. I wanted to share my screen and go over some different meal models that we know that y'all are going to be implementing for the 2021 school year. And so we have been participating with some child nutrition directors in some conference calls about the challenges that are associated with the meal service for the upcoming school year. So what we're trying to do at TDA is kind of get ahead of the curve and talk about the different meal models and the different ways that meals will be served. And from the state point of view, what can we do to help you be in compliance with the new challenges of the meal models coming into the new school year? So I first do want to recognize, as Angela has done on the majority of these calls, that you know, the work that y'all are doing with the challenges of COVID and the, you know, just the daily changes of everything, it's just been amazing. And we do want to reiterate and thank you for all the questions, the feedback, and, you know, feeding the kids has been really very important. So thank you for that. Okay, mainly the 4 different meal models that we are hearing about is the socially distanced cafeteria, where meals are served in the cafeteria, but the kids have to be distanced in a way. Meals being served in the classroom. Mobile cafeterias, whether that's mobile carts in the schools or outside of the schools, and then offsite meals. So those are mainly the 4 different methods that we're going to address today. So how are administrative reviews going to be conducted in the next school year concerning these models? So generally speaking, in school year 2021, it is year 2 of our 4-year administrative review cycle. And so, you know, we're going to be working with all the CEs that are being, that have reviews next year. And with your review, it really depends on a lot of different circumstances, whether we will do the review on site or whether we'll do the review virtually. It comes down to a lot of factors. And I think really one of the first things is that the reviewer is going to call you and talk to you about the circumstances that are going on at every single particular CE and site that you have. And we do realize, and that's why I have it in this slide, we do realize that some sites might have policies against visitors being there. So if you have such policies, please communicate with your lead reviewer about that, and we'll make sure that we can get the review conducted in a way that meets compliance for us and that is meeting safety protocols at your CE. One of the most important things that everyone can do is keep your information updated in TXUMPS. So I know that there has been a focus on the application packet, especially in TXUMPS during this COVID time, but I also do want to point out how important the attachment B is. The attachment B is your policy statement for meal counting and claiming procedures. And so especially with all the waivers and the charge policies and all the different things that come into play with meal counting and claiming, keeping your attachment B up to date is a very important thing. And so I know this next year, the majority of y'all are going to be implementing some sort of meal count and meal claiming system that you maybe have never done before. And so I'm going to assume that the majority of CEs are going to have to update their attachment B. So keep that in mind if you need to. In food safety and sanitation, this is also another area that is going to be huge for next year. If you think of the different meal models of taking food to the classrooms or doing grab and go meals where maybe parents pick up the meals or kids take meals home for multiple days during the week, one of the most important things that you can do is think through some of the food safety and sanitation issues that come alongside of that. Okay, so with meal counting and claiming, maintaining accurate and legible meal counts is very important, but also what has come up is ensuring that your point of sale system can operate in a way that matches your new operation of meal counting and claiming. That's very important. I know that some CEs are having challenges with that. I think a discussion that we had this morning is that it seems that maybe more of the locally owned software companies might have some methods that are a little bit easier to implement with different meal models, and sometimes point of sale systems that are more nationwide systems are having a little bit more of a challenge with it. So if you're not already working with your point of sale system, please start doing so to ensure that your point of sale system can match and count and claim properly for whatever the needs of your district and each sites are. The other thing too is really ensuring that you have a manual backup system to whatever you're doing. Maybe the point of sale system won't work. Maybe it won't fit whatever kind of operation you have. And so you might have to implement some kind of manual counting system, and making sure that you have that in place and that there's checks and balances with it. Okay. And we're really recommending that whatever practice CE puts into place, that you do a dry run with your staff, your teachers, and that everybody understands the processes and procedures. And so it'll help the counting and claiming procedures go well right off the bat. Okay, so meal service, of course, making sure that you have all the proper waivers in place, a meal pattern waiver, all those different kind of things are in place before you start meal service. I think with meal service, one of the most important things is that counting the lines. So even if you have a line that's outside or a food truck or whatever it might be, just keep in mind that that does count as a line, and it does require a food production record, child nutrition labels, all those kind of things, just like it normally would. Okay. Okay, let's get into meal service accommodations. This is just a reminder too, as Angela was saying, this still falls under National School Lunch. So you do have to keep in mind, how is meal service accommodations going to happen? This could be a little bit challenging, especially with different meal service options and during COVID time. So think about that ahead of time also, what the district is planning to do in those circumstances. So getting into the different meal models, the first one is a socially distant cafeteria. And so we kind of talked about what this means, but some compliance things that we thought were important for everybody to keep in mind is that if there's multiple meal service lines, ensure that each line meets the meal pattern requirement. And that is very important, that every single line has to be able to stand alone, meeting the meal pattern requirements for the day and for the week. So that is going to be a challenge, especially if you have multiple kiosks all over the school serving meals. Making sure that sneeze guards are in place. If you're utilizing share tables, make sure that they're in accordance with all the rules and regulations. And of course, civil rights is still something that needs to be followed. Safety and sanitation, adequate counting and claiming are all things not too different than it normally is. So the other ones that we're going to talk about, the meals in the classroom and the grab and go, have a little bit more complexities when it comes to compliance. So meals served in the classroom, some big considerations that you have to think about ahead of time is that teachers and classroom aides may need additional training on how to count and claim meals and serve meals. Another thing that you might take into consideration for your operation is that a la carte and paid meals may be impacted by meals in the classroom. You might need additional transportation equipment such as carts or coolers, or even something to count your meals with. So there might be some extra purchasing involved in serving meals in the classroom or meals just all over the school site. Especially with compliance, if you're going to serve meals in the classroom, if you have 50 classes in the school, how are all those counts going to roll up to the claim? Are they electronic? Are they manual? You know, are the teachers counting them right? And then, you know, how are they rolled up to the claim? Like I said, that's a very important. And as I recommended earlier, I will say this once and I'll say it 100 more times. Make sure you practice the system before it's actually put into play. It's really important. Also, in consideration of compliance is how is the meal going to be packaged, and make sure that the health and safety are followed also. Okay. We kind of talked about the manual system and the electronic system and considerations of that. Of course, the food production records with the meals in the classroom too, making sure the teachers and the staff are educated on the day's menu, and that every day the teachers are very aware of what makes a reimbursable meal. And of course, if it's, you know, the option of utilizing offer versus serve or straight serve is correctly documented on the food production record. So the mobile cafeteria is definitely something that I'm sure a lot of you have thought about ahead of time, but, you know, purchasing extra carts or coolers requires significant planning before implementation. There are different safety and sanitation practices that you'll have to keep in mind with that. And, you know, you may have to allow for longer meal times compared to other models when it comes to mobile cafeterias, as far as students getting there, waiting in line, and different things of that nature. Again, there has to be adequate counting and claiming of reimbursable meals. And I think one of the big things we've been talking about is, even at one site, you could have a mobile cafeteria, you could have sites in the classroom and kids eating in the cafeteria. You could have all three. So you really need to think through every single step of the counting and claiming process and how it'll all come together. Are the kids being claimed correctly at the point of service? Then are all the meals from all the points of service being wrapped up all together correctly and counted and claimed on the claim and at the edit check? Okay. And if you have a mobile cafeteria, then make sure it's really important to update your attachment B, as that is a different type of meal counting and claiming. Okay. I'm trying to hit some points here that I might not have already said. And considering special dietary needs availability at mobile cafeterias too, you need to take that into consideration. And again, I'll say this one more time, that a mobile cafeteria is its own line, so it does have to have its own food production record. Okay, and then offsite meals. So this one does have a lot of challenges and is probably, I would say, the newer kind of meal model that some people will be implementing if they already haven't implemented during the summertime. You have to really consider how food is going to be packaged for people to take home with them, and all those different kind of things. Food safety concerns is of utmost importance with that. I think the considerations you need to think about are, you know, if the kids are taking the meals when the school bell rings home for the next couple of days because they'll do virtual learning at home, how does that look if kids don't go home right after school, or if they go to after school care before they go home? How can we ensure that the meals will be kept at proper temperatures, and the school district and you guys and the sites not be liable for the food safety concerns? Meals must be recorded and counted on the day of the intended consumption to prevent duplicate claiming and edit check errors. So I'm going to say that again. So if I'm a student and Monday and Tuesday I eat at the school site, you can count and claim me there. But then on Tuesday I leave school and I'm given meals for Wednesday and Thursday to eat at home while I'm doing my virtual learning. Those meals have to be claimed on Wednesday and Thursday too. They can't all be claimed on Monday and Tuesday. So again, they have to be counted on the day of intended consumption. And you really need to think through the process of how to prevent duplicate meals also. And I will mention with the point of services, not all of them are set up right now to count meals. If you give meals out on a Tuesday, they're not all set up to count the actual meals on the intended consumption day on a Wednesday and Thursday. So that's something you definitely need to work out with your point of sale company or come up with a different method so you can properly count and claim those meals. Okay. And then again, additional equipment if necessary, because as I can imagine, and I just think of my, I just think of my twins at my own school and think about, you know, if this happened to them and they ate at school Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, they got meals to take home, you know, for Wednesday and Thursday, just them carrying them home and just the mass chaos after school of all the kids getting meals before they go home or wherever they're going afterwards. You know, there's a lot to consider there. There's, especially with counting and claiming, just the chaos of the kids, and even logistically carrying them. I know that you all have so much to consider, and I just want to reiterate and say that you guys are all doing an amazing job, and there's just so much to walk through and go through. And so hopefully we're trying to provide some good resources to put some good thoughts in your mind about that. Make sure, of course, with the food production records, they have to be completed daily. So if you're serving multiple meals at one time, the food production records must be completed in full for each meal served for each day. So if you have any questions about any of this, here's some contact information on the different meal service models. You're more than welcome to email or call anybody in the school operations compliance unit. We'd be more than happy to help you and talk about logistics, about what your school district and your sites are thinking about doing and how they're thinking about operating next year. And we can walk through some compliance things with you and some things we've heard, some best practices. We're more than happy to do that. We will be posting this PowerPoint on Square Meals. And in addition to that, I'm pretty sure from these, we will be developing one-pagers on different things to consider with compliance as concerned with those 4 different meal models. And if anyone has a different meal model that we didn't think of, let me know. I'm more than happy to incorporate this into the one-pagers or the PowerPoint, just so we can, you know, any support and help that we can provide, we're more than willing to do that. And I think the next thing that I was going to talk about, if it's okay, Angela, you can tell me yes or no on this, but the next thing I was going to talk